So I'm going to start out by just reading something from a book that I have called The Ways of the Master Builders. Some of you may have this book. It's written by James Harper. I met James down in Tuskegee at the mayor's office, Omar Neal. I was talking to Omar in his office and getting ready to leave, and Harper came in. And he had just moved back to Tuskegee. He came out of corporate and moved back to Tuskegee, which was his home. And we started talking, and I had seen this book before, but I didn't have a copy. So we exchanged books because I had dropped one of my books off to the mayor, and I went out to the car and got another one, and he gave me his book and I gave him mine. And as I've read this book, a lot of the same information, even some of the same quotes are in his book that are in a couple of mine that I've written. And I want to share this with you, and it's an excellent book if you want to pick it up. Of course, you can call me. My number is always on the screen from time to time, and I can give you information about how to get in touch with James Harper, or you can just look it up yourself. The Ways of the Master Builders talks about the foundation building traits of America's most influential black entrepreneurs. A lot of good information in this book, and you need to have a copy of it in your library. But I want to read something that he quoted in his book to start out. And this comes from an article titled A Legacy of Entrepreneurship, written by Robert Woodson. Some of you may know Robert Woodson. He's been to Cincinnati a couple of times, and he's spoken on economic empowerment. He says, the story of black America as a winner, not a whiner, has been lost. Its historical zest for free enterprise, self-assertion, and open debate within its ranks is a peculiarly American story of trial, tribulation, and triumph. In the past, the black community had to rely on its own resources to survive. Black advancement was linked with black self-determination. Black Americans exhibited backbone, resolve, energy, vitality, creativity, innovation, and intellect in a time when the country was generally either indifferent or hostile to black interests. Slavery, Jim Crow laws, lynchings, and race-baiting politicians could not kill the community's collective will and determination to leap over barriers to accomplish its goals. Seemingly, the more restrictive the political, social, and economic barriers, the more determined black America became in its resolve to overcome them. And progress, for the most part, came about because it took matters into its own hands. Black folks took matters into their own hands. Now, we can just read that and learn. We can just read that and understand what we need to do today in terms of growing our economic base and reaching true economic empowerment through entrepreneurship. Despite all of the barriers, despite all of the issues, problems and challenges that we face today, we can still do what this article is talking about. We can still build our own economic foundation. And I like it when he said black folks had backbone. You know, I had this quote in one of my books from Marcus Garvey. It wasn't made by Marcus Garvey, it was made by someone referring to Marcus Garvey. He said, Marcus gives us backbones. Other folks give us wishbones. We just wish for something, or we hope it'll happen. But Marcus gives us backbones to stand up and to do some things for ourselves. And most people, I shouldn't say most, some people don't know anything beyond what took place with the ships going to Africa and that kind of thing. Black Star Line with Marcus Garvey. But Marcus Garvey started numerous businesses. He had a publishing business in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. And in one of the books that Amos Wilson wrote, Amos was talking about the fact that Marcus Garvey had this publishing house right there in Harlem, and black authors were complaining as to why white publishing companies would not pick up their books and publish their books. And they had their own publishing house right in Harlem. I think he said it was on 110th and Lenox or something like that. right in the middle of Harlem, or 125th Street. I mean, that kind of attitude really speaks to what this article is talking about, that there was a time when we looked at ourselves as winners, not whiners. We're not going to whine about the fact that a white publishing company doesn't think enough of our books to publish them. We'll start our own publishing company. And how does that affect us? How has it affected us? And how does it affect us today? Do we think that we can't do anything unless we go and ask someone else to help us do it? I don't think so, because I've seen it in action. I mean, we built the African American Chamber of Commerce on black dollars. First night I talked to the group that started the chamber, I said, look, if we can't build this, if we can't put our own money down first to start this, then we don't deserve it. I'm not going to go downtown and ask anybody to give us money and help us and give us this and give us that. We have to be able and willing to make the sacrifice to put our own money down to establish our own chamber first. If somebody wants to come along later and put some money on top, that's fine. But the foundation should be built with black dollars. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is the kind of thing that a lot of these black entrepreneurs did, and a lot of our associations and organizations did back at the turn of the last century, and even before then. But we have to, I think, learn from that and understand how we can be the bridge builders to the next group of entrepreneurs, which are our young people, obviously, so that they can carry this tradition forward. For the most part, over the last 50, 60 years, we kind of dropped the ball on that, folks. We really haven't done a lot of teaching of entrepreneurship, of letting our young people know that, you know, there is an option to going to school and graduating and getting a good job. That option is going to school and graduating and making a good job.